Good Tuesday morning, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know with the news you trust studio, sponsored by the Grain Equipment Company, where innovation meets execution. I'm Joe Everett. Pretty cold here this morning on the farm, in the single digits, around 9 degrees, even though it feels colder than that, and it doesn't look like it's going to warm up very much, around a high of 18 degrees. Some quick calendar reminders. Don't miss your chance to attend a Seed Consultants Winter Agronomy meeting. Visit seedconsultants.com to learn more. Also, today is the first day of the Fort Wayne Farm Show over in Indiana, and that goes through January 16th. Well, John Deere has announced layoffs for 75 workers at its Iowa tractor plant. The job cuts are some of the first in 2025 after the company reduced its workforce by the thousands last year in response to slowing demand. Deere & Company is laying off dozens of workers at its production plant in Ottumwa, Iowa, after struggling with tractor and equipment sales in recent months. Approximately 75 workers, or 13% of the plant's workforce, will lose their jobs effective February 7th. The Ottumwa, Iowa plant just reopened after closing for the month of December due to the sluggish demand for hay equipment. To remain globally competitive, Deere must continue making workforce adjustments as needed to their manufacturing footprint, according to a John Deere spokesperson. Now let's check in for an update from the USDA. Here's Dusty Sonneberg.
The USDA has finalized a third new regulation under the Biden-Harris administration to create fairness and transparency for contract farmers. Now, specifically, the rule announced will give chicken farmers better insight into companies' payment rates for their birds, will institute stability and fairness in what is commonly known as the tournament system, which will provide farmers with key information on capital improvements the companies require farmers to make in order to keep or renew contracts, and give farmers stronger leverage when companies do not adhere to all the rules. U.S. Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack announced this rule today and says the intent is to level the playing field for farmers who raise chickens, turkeys, hogs, cattle, and sheep under contract for sale to meat and poultry processing companies.
When one of the largest entities that's engaged in a tournament system has agreed to these provisions, I think it's an indication that, in fact, it does work and it can create a fair market for both producers and integrators. Secondly, I think you're going to find that groups that represent farmers, not necessarily farmers and processors, but farmers, are going to express support for this rule because they understand and appreciate that the current system is not level. It's not a level playing field. It doesn't really provide for fair competition. And this rule basically addresses many of the concerns that we've heard from rank and file and producers who just simply want a fair shake. They don't want field necessarily tilted in their direction. They just don't want to have to work uphill. And so the reality is that this is a strong rule and a good rule, and it's a rule that bubbled up from the ground up, not the top down. And I think those kinds of rules ultimately are the successful ones and the ones that are preserved and conserved.
Those are the comments of U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Tom Vilsack. Now, poultry processors exercise substantial control over broiler chicken growers' operations and possess detailed information about growers as part of their tournament system, an arrangement where processors pay growers based on their performance compared to others, and this power imbalance can prevent growers from making informed business decisions and from effectively bargaining with processors about compensation and other contractual terms. Now, this final rule requires processors to fairly and transparently pay broiler growers and limit excessively variable compensation to operate tournaments such that growers can be more confident that comparisons are fair and to provide growers with key information when they request growers make updates.
Thanks, Dusty, for that update. Stay tuned. We'll be back to take a look at today's weather after this.
Watch your step, Ohio. Winter weather is here, so let's keep your team from slipping on the job. Make sure to examine your work areas daily and clear hazards that could result in a potential fall. Hoses, cords, buckets, farm tools, and equipment can all pose a problem. As the days get darker, you'll want to replace any poor lighting, too. Keep walkways and entrance areas clear, dress for the weather, and stay safe and warm. This safety tip brought to you by the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation. Visit pwc.ohio.gov for more safety resources.
Tuning in on the Ohio AgNet, today's weather brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Here's the forecast.
Some clouds around in Ohio today as bitter cold air wants to park here again. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at that Ohio Ag weather update. Here's what's going on. We've got a little minor disturbance trying to move through in the cold air today. So light snow and flurries is a possibility, but I think it's only a nuisance, not much of anything else. We get rid of it all and get sunshine back in full force tomorrow and Thursday. Today and tomorrow, the coldest days of this week by far. Thursday, not quite as cold. We get into Friday and temperatures really start to moderate dramatically. As a matter of fact, I expect a decent amount of snow melt as we move through Friday afternoon and Friday evening. By the time we get to overnight Friday night, we are dealing with our next weather system headed towards us, coming up from the southwest. It originates in the mid-Mississippi River Valley, comes across 90% of Ohio. From I-70 southward, I think we're looking at rain and wet snowflakes. North of I-70, all snow. Liquid equivalent still about a half an inch or less, but it could be a little bit of a mess as we move through the first part of Saturday with this system still here. Cold air comes back in behind it, the Arctic reloading, and next week looks even colder than what we're dealing with this week. It's going to be a brutal stretch of cold air across the country as many states, many parts of the country will be anywhere from 20 to 35 degrees below normal. That's a look at your forecast update. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. For some equipment news, as 2024 came to a close, tractor and combine sales closed the year in a slump. According to new data from the Association of Equipment Manufacturers, sales of agricultural tractors and combines fell in the United States during December of 2024 compared to the previous year. U.S. sales of agricultural tractors fell 11.3%, while combines fell 26.4% in December compared to December of 2023. December sales of ag tractors and combines follow patterns we saw through 2024, which reflects softness in the market, says the Association of Equipment Manufacturers President Kurt Blades. While the year has been marked by high interest rates and uncertainty throughout the overall ag economy, AEM is looking forward to the potential in 2025 and will continue to advocate for policies focused on positively impacting the industry. Canada's sales of ag tractors dropped 3.2%, while combines fell 37.3% in December when compared to the previous year. The biggest December drop was in 100-plus horsepower tractors, down 27% from last year. In other notes, the government has released short-term guidance on accessing clean fuels tax credits under the Inflation Reduction Act. However, the announcement fell short of finalizing the program's details. The biofuel groups were hoping for more clarity on the tax credits for fuels that help combat climate change. The groups are also hopeful that more complete guidance will provide a pathway for corn-based ethanol to expand its market as a sustainable aviation fuel feedstock. The Treasury Department says it provides further details on how to ensure fuels meet certain emission reductions criteria to access the subsidy, and adds that the crucial climate model upon which the program relies on will be available in the future. Well, the U.S. Meat Export Federation has been training resort chefs in Honduras. John Harrith from the U.S. Meat Export Federation has more.
The U.S. Meat Export Federation recently hosted a series of training seminars for chefs of resorts and hotels across Honduras. USMEF Mexico corporate chef Herman Navarrete worked with the chefs to develop new feature items for their menus.
Honduras has become, in recent years, a very important tourist destination, especially Roatan, which is an island right in the Atlantic. And there we carried out a series of seminars for hotels and restaurants in the region, so they know very well how to use and how to create some new proposals using U.S. beef and U.S. pork. We actually gave them a series of ingredients, just actually kind of a market of ingredients where they could choose from whatever they wanted, whatever they needed, so they could come up with some dishes according to the taste of their customers and the tourists that visit the region. This is really like a paradise. So people are going there to have a good time, to eat well. So having these wonderful creations that they came up with will be a very good way of keeping them coming back and, giving them a wonderful experience that only U.S. beef and U.S. pork can provide.
A key to the success of the program is pairing U.S. beef and pork with local ingredients.
People really want, yes, good U.S. product, but also they want a local taste. So it was fascinating to see what they came up with, using plantain, using mangoes, using coconut, which, applied to all these wonderful U.S. beef and pork products. I mean, the outcome was absolutely outstanding. And I actually took some very good ideas for myself and for other regions around the world.
The seminars were funded through support from the Wisconsin Beef Council and USDA. Strong demand in Honduras helped fuel a record-breaking year for U.S. pork exports to Central America in 2024, and one of the best years on record for beef exports to the region. For more, please visit usmef.org. For the U.S. Meat Export Federation, I'm John Harris.
Thanks, John. Well, President-elect Donald Trump continues to have his eye on Canada, Greenland, and the Panama Canal, as he reiterated in a press conference last week. Asked if he would rule out the use of military force when looking at expansion, Trump said he couldn't commit to that. Instead, he emphasized the importance of the Panama Canal, saying the Panama Canal is vital to our country. It's being operated by China. And we gave the Panama Canal to Panama. We didn't give it to China. Responding to Trump, Panama officials said the canal's sovereignty is non-negotiable. Overall, more than 70% of all cargo passing through the Panama Canal is coming from the United States ports or heading to U.S. ports. At least $8.9 billion worth of agricultural products were shipped out of the Mississippi River ports through the canal in 2023. In a typical year, about 600 million bushels of U.S. soybeans and 450 million bushels of corn move through the Panama Canal. Stay tuned. We'll be back with the grain analysis and your overnight markets after this.
Morton Buildings is holding their annual Building Value Day sales event running now through the end of February. Morton Buildings are built stronger, last longer, and look better. So if you're planning for a garage, farm shop, stall barn, a storage building for your RV, boat, or collectibles, or anything in between, act now and contact one of their 4 Ohio offices by visiting mortonbuildings.com or call 800-447-7436 to take advantage of their current savings on select new buildings. Certain restrictions may apply. This offer is available on select building styles. Contact your local construction center for more details.
Now for today's market analysis, and that's brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company. Excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Call 574-566-2113 for information on soybean marketing to LDC. Here's Ryan Martin.
Wild and crazy start to the week in the corn and soybean markets. Dramatically higher here overall. Taking a look at how we finished out the day, let's run through it this way. On corn, finished anywhere from 6 to 8 cents higher. We had new crop corn trading $4.57 yesterday at the close. That was near the high. So is there more left? Potentially. But let's not get too wild and crazy. That's what I really dealt with a lot yesterday, was farmers getting very bulled up. I heard some people wanting to trade 11. I heard some folks saying that they were going to sell at 12. Let's not get too wild and crazy here, guys. Just a few weeks ago, we were holding our heads in our hands with the bean market down in the upper 9s and the corn market down trading close to 4, going, woe is me, what's going on? Don't be crazy here. Don't get bulled up too fast. But the markets do look good over the past couple of days. I'm not gonna lie. Beans up yesterday anywhere from 22 to 28 cents. New crop beans were 20 higher, finishing at 10.51. So you may have an opportunity to lock in some new crop sales on both corn and soybeans if you're looking at things in the right way. Wheat markets, oddly enough, came along for the ride. I just got done doing a very in-depth look at the wheat market after USDA's reports, and it doesn't seem like there's much there for us to get too super excited about on wheat. But wheat, I think, was drawn along by the corn and bean market yesterday. Anywhere from 12 to 14 higher in Chicago, 9 to 11 higher in Kansas City, 8 to 9 in Minneapolis. So good numbers there. This was all riding the coattails of the USDA report. It was nothing else. Well, all right, maybe on soybeans there was a little bit of 45Z, but I don't think much of that was in there because we saw bean oil only modestly higher, 46 to 51 points up after seeing triple-digit gains back last Friday when 45Z was released. So, do we see turnaround Tuesday? I fear there's a possibility of it. We'll see. I'm Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Now let's take a look at your overnight trade brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. March corn 474 3/4, down 1 3/4. May corn 485, down 1 3/4. March soybeans 1053, no change. May soybeans 1066 1/4, down 1/4. March wheat 545 1/2, up 1/2. Looking at livestock from yesterday's close, February live cattle 193.40, down $1.37. April live cattle 198.20, down $1.27. February lean hogs 83.17, up 62 cents. April lean hogs 89.30, up 62 cents as well. March feeder cattle $267.90, down $1.50, and April feeder cattle $268.32, down $1.85. For the latest farm news, you can find that at ohioagnet.com. Thanks for joining us and have a great day, everyone. This is the Ohio AgNet.